H Production has been part of the runoff since 1958. At last year's race, the #1 MG midget of defending champ Ron Bartel would lead all 20 laps. 87 champ Raymond Yergler's day ended without another title to boast. Dan Collishaw started a ways back in the field, slowly picking off the competition one by one until he was near the back bumper of the defending class champ. Bartel's mirrors were full of Collishaw's white Sprite on the last lap when slower traffic became an obstacle. But Bartel was able to hold off Collishaw, capturing his second consecutive title. Will there be a three-peat in 2002? Sports car racing lives on speed.
Perhaps you can imagine, maybe you know how much fun it is to get behind the wheel of one of these beautifully full race prep Austin Healey Sprites. Well, two of our drivers going for the national championship have a wealth of experience behind the wheel. Dan Collishaw, 11 times a Runoffs competitor, has been the runner-up the last 2 years going, and he's going to be trying to drive the number 81 into victory lane. The 94 national champion is Bob Weber in his number 35 yellow Sprite out of Houston, Texas. He is a three-time runner-up in the race, so he's looking to get back to victory lane again. Now let's go to my broadcast partner. Certainly has a lot of experience behind the wheel of a race car. Here's Dorsey Schrader.
John Salisbury's racing year has been interrupted, if you will. It's been highly emotional. You see, he has a partner in this car, his father, John Sr., they co-drive. Well, John just went through open heart bypass surgery. Good news is he's fine, but he couldn't be here today. John Jr., he would like nothing more than to give his father that win, the national championship. Now, on the other hand, Phil Childs has had a banner year. He's raced 5 times and won 4, breaking down the 5th. And one of those wins, the big one, the June Sprints. Now, H Production is a highly competitive class. I raced here myself in the 70s. To win it more than once is really unusual. The next man I'm going to introduce you to should need introduction. Ron Bartel is the champion for the last 2 years. He hasn't even lost a race in 2 years, and this year something new happened. He got beat. He says he doesn't like it. It's not going to happen again, and guess what? I guess we're about to find out.
The Valvoline Runoffs at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and it's H Production. We pack a lot of power and a lot of fun into these little cars, and as we've said, they've been around for a long time, and so have some of the drivers. So some of the most experienced drivers and some of the best prepared race cars are about to take to the track here at Mid-Ohio in H Production to decide a national champion. I'm Brian Trevor with Dorsey Schrader up here in the booth, Chris Neville and Guy Hobbs downstairs, and take a look at 15 turns of fun.
And this place for an H Production car is awesome because the H Production car has to keep its momentum up. It doesn't have much motor, only about 900 cc's. So they really have to do momentum. Well, Mid-Ohio is a good momentum track, so you have to be technical. These guys are going to really get it on.
Well, the cars are small enough to fit plenty of them on it, and we're going to have a big time here in just a few moments. Let's take a look at our Valvoline starting lineup. Defending champ Ron Bartel is actually a 3-time champ. He also won back in '92. Bob Weber, a champ. We've got 6 former champions in the field, including Ken Purgason, Bob Weber, Steve Hussey, Raymond Yergler. But they're just 13 titles in H Production among 6 men, so you know they're all going to be trying to get back to victory lane.
And the real story, Randy Canfield, another champion, as a matter of fact, he's in 5th place, and I think he's in his 70s now. He's unbelievable.
Let's go downstairs to Chris Neville.
Well, mid-pack in this race, you're going to find the 1987 champion, Ray Yergler. That year he did it in a Sprite. This year he's trying to do it in a midget. He hasn't had as much success in the midget, but this year he thinks he's going to the front.
All right, Ray Yergler carries the 87 on the side of his car, and he was the 87 champ. That's how he remembers. That's how we'll remember. So Raymond Yergler trying to get back to victory lane after a long absence. A lot of cars down there on the false grid, and we will set them off in motion here in just a few moments. The H Production National Championship at the Olympics of Motorsports. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course hosts the Valvoline Runoffs. Speed Channel's coverage of the SCCA Valvoline Runoffs is brought to you by Valvoline. You can always tell the guys who use Valvoline. H Production cars out on the racetrack here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. 15 turns, 2.4 miles, 20 laps. That's the math, and at the end of it all is a national championship. Here's a description of the cars. They're small, but they're fun and fast.
They are indeed. This is the smallest of all the production classes. Like I said, less than 1,000 cc's under the hood there. Little cars, but they have performance modifications. They got the original design and structure as far as if it's a front engine, it's got to be a front engine, blah, blah, blah.
So they circle the racetrack, getting ready to take green. Let's go quickly down to Chris Neville.
Well, Ron Bartel is going for 3 in a row, the hat trick. However, you look around him, he's got Bob Weber next to him, Dan Collinshaw behind him. Now, Weber is a 94 champion. Both these guys are gunning for him, and Bartel's crew is real nervous. They say it's definitely going to be a dogfight out there.
Well, Ron Bartel also going for a piece of history and trying to become only the second 3-time consecutive champ. Steve Hussey did the deed back in 95, 96, and 97. He's in the field.
Well, I'm seeing something right now back on Randy Canfield's car. It looks like he's picked up a hot dog wrapper or some sort of debris is in his grill. It looks like he's the 4th place car. You see that little white piece of debris right there. Nope, it's just a decal. We're okay.
It's a Hoosier sticker. We're fine. And getting ready to go green here at Mid-Ohio. You're on board with Ron Bartel, the pole sitter, the defending champion, the 3-time champion, trying to go for 3 in a row in his 4th overall.
Pretty nice, tidy formation as they come down toward the green.
You'll see it in the distance here in just a moment. And now it's waving twin green flags. And they're off and racing. Bartel on the inside as they take the green flag in the white car, but it's the yellow car of Bob Weber that pulls up alongside. Let's see who's brave on the brakes. It's Bartel with position, and he'll take the lead.
Randy Canfield all the way up to 3rd, but he's side by side going up through madness right now. Loses 3rd, back to 4th.
Canfield in 4th down on the inside. One guy up over the curb and one of the few VW Scirocco's in the field.
And one of the rear cars leaking fluid out of it. I don't know if that car right there was
Yep. Oh, we got a big problem as Johannes Kraus in the 46 had some company, and a few of the drivers went off the track. There's the 92 of Chuck Turner. The 45 there is off the track as well. And that's Kendall Jones out of Michigan.
And all that started by Mark Pellman, who I think had an oil line come loose or something. Watch here, the 45 car there. You're going to start seeing.
We got a problem. Yeah, the 92 is around.
The 92 is the one that had the leak.
Yeah, he's got smoke coming out of the headlights there, which is actually an air scoop, the left one usually.
Yeah, I think he lost an antifreeze line or something. I saw it right as he went through madness.
So the mayhem going on behind the leader, Ron Bartel, who is getting a challenge now from the 81 of Dan Collinshaw, and these were the 2 guys that were going after it last year.
Wow, what an unlucky start right there. One guy loses the radiator hose, spins in his own fluids, and then it starts to stack up. Of course, these guys don't know about it yet, unless they've been told by the crews that there's a little bit of a melee up ahead here.
Bob Weber in 3rd position there in the yellow number 35. And a pretty good fight going on behind him. Bartel trying to sneak away from Collinshaw and Weber. And the front 3 cars have a little bit of a gap while they're spaced out not so much in between each of them.
Now you got to kind of wonder if the corner workers saw that fluid coming out. Here's a pass right here for 2nd place underneath in the carousel. Nice clean pass.
Yep. Collinshaw going through as they come into the final corner. This was just after taking the green, and behind them was all the mayhem.
And this is the area where the antifreeze was, so obviously, well, there looks like a line of it right there going down the hill. Looks like it was shiny to me.
Yeah, a little bit of skating around there from Collinshaw as Weber is right behind him. Bartel not much of a lead either, and Weber wants Collinshaw's 2nd position. Let's go downstairs to Chris Neville, an update on the 81 car.
Well, Collinshaw has had kind of a tough week. They have had some motor problems all week, so they've got a good qualifying effort. They think they have a good car. They've been here numerous times, but they're going for their 1st championship this year. So he's just hoping that motor sticks together, and hopefully they'll have a good weekend.
Right now, Ron Bartel running out in front, out of New Hampshire.
Bob Weber just made an excellent pass and a real hard place to do it, too.
Right on Bob Weber there. Weber making a pass on Collinshaw. Sorry, beautifully done.
That's a tough part of the racetrack to make a pass. You don't expect to get past right there, but he had a good run going. He just drove it right by.
Dan Collinshaw in the white Sprite behind Bob Weber now. Weber, let's see if he's got anything for Bartel up front. We're talking about 2 former champions going after each other now.
I'll tell you, Weber and Collinshaw better be quit racing each other, because if they let that Mr. Bartel go very far out in the distance, they'll never catch him back up again.
Out of the chicane into the keyhole down the long straightaway. Let's see who's got the horsepower under the hood of these little cars. Bartel holding on to the advantage. Weber not really able to close much of it. Colishaw's right there. So the first three look as though they're intent upon settling this man to man to man.
Weber with a good run, he might have an idea. Yeah, he's taking the notion to the inside here. And he's going to take the lead.
Yeah, Bob Weber has taken the lead here over Ron Bartel, and so now Bartel gets to chase the yellow Sprite of Bob Weber, and the two former champions have just swapped spots.
Well, Weber made that look easy. It looked like he just muscled right by both those guys on power.
Howard passed a little bit later on the brakes, and he has the point now. Canfield running in fourth position as the black 41 car coming up from behind. Canfield, as we mentioned, also a former champion. In fact, a five-time champion.
He's 71 years old in fourth place. Can you believe that?
His first title back in '69. His most recent one in 1990. Talking about the 41 car. So Bob Weber leads this one. Canfield's trying to catch up there and make it three champions out of the four lead cars. As Weber leads, Bartel is second, and Colishaw, who has not won a title, is in third place. You're on board with Ron Bartel, the defending champion, and chasing Bob Weber, who is your new leader here in H production at the Valvoline Runoffs at Mid-Ohio. Bob Weber leads Ron Bartel and Dan Colishaw here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in H production, and these three have already swapped the front spot. Canfield's trying to catch him and desperately pedaling his way up there. He'll have a three-car draft to try to sniff around in down the long back straightaway, Doris.
Watch this. Bartel had a good run, but I don't think he's got the power. He doesn't. Look at Weber pull away. That's horsepower right there.
Bob Weber's car, the fastest one on the track right now. Low minute 45-second lap time for Weber, and we know he's good on the brakes down in 6, and he holds his position.
Yeah, I looked at those guys come out of the keyhole, and it looked to me like you know, the best run out of there was Bartel, and he lost a lot of ground on the straightaway. And once you do that, you realize you're in deep trouble. Guy can power you like that.
Bob Weber in front of Ron Bartel and Dan Colishaw. Those are the three. And we're talking about Weber in a Sprite, Bartel in a midget, Colishaw also in a Sprite. A little bit deeper in the field, looking at the 48 and 38 car. That's 7th and 8th place.
Steve Palmer and Jay Lutz. Jay Lutz, another guy out of St. Louis region that I used to race with.
Monty Cowles in the 48. A whole bunch of cars back there in this neighborhood. Running order across the top of the screen will show you where everybody's running while we watch this battle here for 7th spot. Monty Cowles in the 48 car. Bug-eyed Sprite, chased by a bug-eyed Sprite, chased by a bug-eyed Sprite.
And all of them chasing a bug-eyed Sprite, of course, which is leading with Mr. Weber.
These cars are so much fun, and I think everybody, including myself, has always wanted to get behind the wheel of one on a racetrack, and you've had that honor. It just must be a blast. As we got a pass for position here, the 38 going by. That's Jay Lutz taking over the number 7 spot from Monty Cowles.
With these little bitty motors in these cars, you cannot afford to slide the car at all because it doesn't have the horsepower to recover. You got to drive them real smooth, and you got to be smart, like that pass right there by when Jay Lutz passed. Very smart to let the pass happen cleanly and not run side by side.
Keep them all in line, all 4 of them, 2 behind the 2, and you'll get around Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in a hurry here. That's what it's going to take to win a national championship. A lot of action up front, but we're watching the battle for 7th here as 4 cars are going after it. 3 cars in the lead. And here we got another move as the 39 comes by, and that is Mark Pellman out of Sarasota, Florida.
He's not done yet.
No, he's not. He's going for the front of this group.
Classic slingshot got him up one position. I thought maybe he had enough to go by. Oh, not over with yet again.
Nope.
Fighting back on the outside. That was a nice piece of driving right there with Steve Palmer.
Yeah, Palmer in the 48 car manages to recapture a spot, and the 39 of Pellman. And then bringing up the rear, it's the 87 of Raymond Yergler, the former champion, one of the senior members of this class. The 87 champ just being patient right now. And looks like he's got something for the guys in front of him. He's just holding back a little bit right now.
Well, these guys really need to work together to try to get their time to improve. The 62 car in the meantime spun out. Rob Ferguson.
Yep.
And he's got it going again, no damage.
Also Ken Ferguson, as we mentioned, one of the former champions, 6 of them in the field, sharing 13 titles. Here's a look at what happened to Rob.
Oh, no, just got in too deep. Whoa, got around the end of the straightaway there, carried too much speed, and couldn't get the car turned in, and around he goes.
Looking over his shoulder to make sure nobody was coming, got it stopped before any damage was done, and he'll be back underway again. You're on board with Ron Bartel, and you're still chasing Bob Weber.
And this is a bad deal. When you get this is the perfect view. This tells you all you need to know. When you see that little yellow car getting smaller in the distance on the straightaway, you've got a long day in front of you.
Collishaw having designs now on Bartel for second. He's able to hold on with a good defensive line going into the heartbreaking turn number 6, but he didn't really gain much as Weber's so good on the brakes down there in addition to being fast on the straightaway.
Yeah, he's definitely got the motor. No question about that.
Bob Weber leads H Production here after 5 laps complete, working on the 6th. We're still a long way from the finish, and you know there's a lot of action still to come. Everybody on pit wall has a big interest in what's going on out there on the racetrack. How about you?
H Production is probably the deepest field in recent years. 6 past champions and 2-time champion Ron Bartel is seated under the same tent as his good friend Dan Collinshaw. Dan, how bad do you want to beat your buddy Ron?
Well, I'd love to beat Ron at anything. He's just an ultra-competitive guy. He's a great driver. When we fish in the summer, in fact, he hates when he doesn't catch the largest fish. So we've got a good car. He squeaked by us in qualifying, but the car's ready, and we're looking for a good run.
Well, you've been racing with him a lot of years, so you've got to have a pretty good strategy on how to beat Ron.
Basically, no holds barred. Ron drives flat out all the time. He drives a good defensive line. I've seen that firsthand. So the car's going to have to be good. I'm going to have to make some good moves, but I think it's our year.
Sometimes some of the best races can be between good friends.
Kind of what H Production is all about, Dorsey. These guys are mostly good friends, and they just enjoy good, clean, gentlemanly racing out there.
And there they are, hammering away on each other, but they forgot about Mr. Weber when they decided that they wanted to beat each other. They're going to have to beat him, too.
Yeah, maybe they better gang up as Collishaw now is behind his friend or a tent mate, shall we say, Ron Bartel. Bartel driving pretty clean, but boy, that yellow car up in front doesn't get any bigger, does it?
Now, Canfield's off down the bottom of the hill there. The 41 sitting up against the tire wall down there, so a 4th place runner is now not doing so good. I don't know if he pulled off or what. I'll tell you what, Bob Weber, once he realizes that he can run down the straightaway faster than these 2 guys, he doesn't have to run hard in the corner anymore, because he knows he's going to get up to the keyhole and just motor by him.
Bartel chasing Weber, and Canfield, the 4th place finisher, off the racetrack. Ride with Ron Bartel and see if he can get it done.
See, they're pretty equal as they come off there. The little yellow car's got legs though. See it going?
Pulling away on the little front straightaway into turn 1, the fastest corner on the course. Flat out pretty much in an HP car.
Looks like Bartel's the fastest car in the corners. Well, actually, the combination of Bartel and Collinshaw are both really good in the corners. They just don't get the straightaway.
The 86 car of Phil Childs running in 10th position has got something at stake here this weekend. Guy Hobbs.
Yeah, Phil Childs, of course, started off 6th. He's dropped back a little bit. But we talked about the hat trick, but how about the Triple Crown? And he is the one guy in this race that can actually get that Triple Crown. And what is the Triple Crown? Well, the trophy is this right here. But it's a matter of winning the June sprints in Elkhart Lake, Road America. And then you have to win your division points championship. And then to get the Triple Crown, you've got to win the national championship right here at Mid-Ohio in the SCCA Valvoline Runoffs. That's what Phil Childs is going for here today.
Well, he was the guy I talked to early on in the week there, and he thought he had a pretty good hot rod. Unfortunately, he's back further than what he wants to be, and he's in a very competitive situation. That's 6th, 5th, 4th, and 4th place right there. Or is that 10th?
Childs rounding out the top 10 as he goes by the 48 of Steve Palmer there. So maybe he's making his move towards the front here. He's got a ways to go, but you got to give him credit for racing hard as he goes up on Yergler too. And is there room for 2 of these little cars?
Watch this, over 2.
Oh, almost contact there as they go through 7 and 8. They're not over with it yet as Palmer's hanging on.
Ray Yergler almost got turned around there, and luckily he got on the brakes and it didn't touch him.
Yergler in 8th. Childs now 9th, and Palmer shuffled back to 10th in this 4-car scrap that's been going on for a while. They're also catching up to Jay Lutz in the number 38 car there.
Because one of the problems Childs has is that as you move up, as you get further and further up, as he makes a move on Yergler, Another, Yergler back, fights back, gets 2 positions.
Yeah, Ray Yergler showing the experience of a veteran, gets a couple of spots all at one time there. Nice move by the 87 car driver, and the 87 champion.
Both those passes in a very, very strange place to be passed. That's a real tenuous area of the racetrack. Yergler just drove right by 2 guys there.
So this continues to be one of the better battles on the racetrack, and that's why we're watching it. Jay Lutz is probably looking a little bit of that in his mirror. I'm sorry, Phil Oates in the 86 car. And it continues as former champions are racing all over Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course right now, and Ray Yergler is leading his little group. Bob Weber up front.
He drives car number 41, and he's been doing it for 42 years. Randy Canfield in the H production class with 5 national titles, 24 top 10 finishes, Randy. Amazing, you keep going at it.
Yes, maybe I'll ask myself why one of these days, but it's still a lot of fun.
You started in 1969, you won the title, and in 1975 you had this new car. Who's getting older, you or the car?
We're keeping track, keeping pace with one another. It's a toss-up, who gives up first.
All right, Randy Canfield driving number 41 in H production. Look out for him, he's been doing this for 42 years.
Well, unfortunately, Randy Canfield is off the racetrack, but we just had to show you what the man behind the wheel of that number 41 car looked like and what he was all about in a 1960 automobile.
But I tell you, I started in H production and started my racing career in 1971. He was the reigning national champion the year I started, and unfortunately I had to run against him several times, and he always beat me.
You know, I was looking all through the record book, and his name is in there quite a few times.
Yes, it is in there, for good reason, too.
Here is Bob Weber. His name is in the record book, too. And he is leading this race right now by a pretty competent job, I would have to say, so far. He's been challenged a few times, but hasn't really been beaten yet. He's the 1994 Runoffs champion, and looks like he might be trying to repeat here in 02.
Well, he's driving the straightaways better than the other guys are. That's why.
That car handles great down the straightaway.
It does.
Here is the blue car that was in front of that group a while ago. This is
Mark Pellman.
Yeah, Mark
Under
Pellman.
pressure.
Yes, he is under a lot of pressure right now as we continue to watch these sprites race each other all over the track. That's the 86 of Phil Childs, who was 10th when we were watching him.
Did an outside pass. That's pretty bizarre.
And we heard Guy Hobbs talk about the Triple Crown. Well, Childs seems to be making a late rush here as we close in on the halfway mark of this 20-lap race. Childs is up to 7th from 10th.
That was a pretty good pass back there. I think, you know, it went Pellman went defensive and moved the inside. Childs went the outside and made it stick. Just drove around him.
Well, it could be that Pellman saw him coming and just said, hey, there's nothing I can do with this guy. Look how fast he closed on me. So he just moved over and let him go by.
These cars very much, because of the small engines, they really respond well to the draft. And you can get a slingshot down that straightaway and really come on with some big speed at the end of it. I think that's what we saw.
So Ray Yergler in the 87 is really moving up here. He started in 10th place. That's where we saw him parked for quite a while. As we go back to the leaders now, Weber leading Bartel and Collishaw.
Watch the little yellow car disappear. That's horsepower. You can't do a single thing about it. All these guys got their pedal to the metal, and the 35 has just got more ponies.
It might just be fractions of horsepower at this point. Every little bit of horsepower counts with these cars, as small as they are and as little as they have available under the hood. So it's all about smooth driving, carrying your momentum, and not making any mistakes. So far, Bob Weber has done all of the above.
Collishaw keeping Bartel honest, that's for sure. He had a run going there, too.
On board with Ron Bartel. Pretty steady on the wheel. Car seems to be handling very nicely. Just doesn't have quite the ponies.
No, he's definitely lacking down the straight line.
Weber, Bartel, and Collishaw, the top three. They've been like that for quite a while. Well, since Bob Weber took the lead with a very nice move.
I really think if Bartel could get by on this early in the lap in the cornering area, that he could open up a lead, because he's definitely quicker through the corner area. But he'd have to do it early in the corner, because it wouldn't make any difference when they get the straightaway. The 35 is strong.
Let's go down to Guy Hobbs with Ron Bartel's wife.
Jean Bartel watches on anxiously, big smile on the face, taking the lap times every time, and actually the lap times are pretty much the same every time. But Jean, as she watches him go by one more time, seems like Bob Weber's just got a little extra horsepower over Ron.
I'm not sure. I think Ron's holding back and waiting for the perfect moment. I think he's going to do it probably with 1 lap to go. That's my prediction.
He's searching for the hat trick. You think he can do it, huh?
We're hockey fans, so he wants a hat trick.
All right, of course. Well, there's always the natural hat trick. Well, he's just going to go for the hat trick here for the SCCA runoffs.
Well, he's already a 3-time champion. We're talking about 3 consecutive to tie Steve Hussey as the only other man who's ever done it in H production. Was that wishful thinking or a good prediction?
Well, I don't know if he's holding back. You know, it's hard to believe he's holding back because I guarantee you that Collinshaw's not holding back right behind him. Back here he comes, getting a run down the back straightaway. Might take a pass maneuver down here, looking to the outside.
Yep, Collishaw keeps hunting and pecking while the lap car in front of him is signaling them all past, and that's good sportsmanship.
Yeah, gave him a point by. That's a nice thing to do. Let these 3 race it out.
And the man doing it is Ken Ferguson, as we mentioned, also a former champion, not having a very good run out there today. So the watchful eyes on pit road continue. The clocks don't lie. Bob Weber is still leading, and we'll be right back to Mid-Ohio. We're back, and we're glad you could join us here at the Valvoline Runoffs at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Brian Drever, Dorsey Schrader, Guy Hobbs, and Chris Neville doing the honors here, and we're glad that you could join us. Bob Weber, that little yellow car is getting littler every time on the straightaways, and it keeps doing it. No sign of any diminishing of power on Weber's car.
Now look at Bartel come through the corners, and Collinshaw right behind him. They gave more speed, no question, through the corners than Weber does. As they catch him right up, watch it come up here to the keyhole. It doesn't make any difference, though, because when they get up there and they make this corner on the straightaway, that car will just take off.
Well, we heard the story from Ron Bartel's #1 fan. How about Bob Weber's crew chief, Chris Neville?
Yeah, he might be leading this thing, but you could throw a blanket over these 3 guys. We're halfway through the race. Are you hearing some chatter from Bob?
Nah, Bob and I don't talk too much on the radio. He's pretty quiet. All I give him is number of laps completed, and that's about it. We keep it quiet. It's important.
Well, he's got a guy going for a hat trick and another guy going for his first win at the runoffs. He'd better stay focused out there.
Collishaw had a notion down inside on Bartel, and all of that just helps Bob Weber even more.
It does. He worried him there. He tried him outside, tried him inside, and ran down the brake zone. You know, he's starting to let him know his presence be known. He goes, hey, we're running out of laps here. I need to get by you.
Well, to his credit, Ron Bartel looks very calm, cool, and collected behind the wheel as Collishaw comes up alongside again. We know that these two share a tent and talked about beating each other, and then you mentioned that they both have to try to beat Bob Weber to be national champions.
You know, sometimes Collinshaw might be the faster of those 2 cars. It might behoove them to switch positions around to try to run down to 35. I mean, sometimes you can work better as a team, you know, if you let the fast car go in the front and pull the slower one with it. That's going to be close down there. I thought Bartel was going to lock up, maybe get into the 35, but luckily he did not.
So Weber now have a short straightaway, the fastest turn on the racetrack, the chicane, and then the longest straightaway to work again here as they have now finished 13 laps. But it looks like Collishaw is getting a little impatient and really trying to take the race to Ron Bartel.
And this is where Bartel's really good coming off turn 1. He definitely has more speed there than Weber does. Collinshaw right there with him too. So, you know, if anybody makes a mistake here, it's going to be a big swap of positions.
Right on the back bumper comes Bartel. This is where he gets the closest, and he has to, because as soon as Weber puts his foot to the floor, that little yellow car starts to edge away again.
Yeah, look at it here. All of them working a real good draft, but the 83 just strong. See it right here on top end. It starts stretching its legs right here.
He opens up from 0 car lengths to about 4 down the long back straightaway here into turn number 6 before they get hard on the brakes. And there you can hear the downshift starting to happen.
I tell you what, those guys working a perfect 2-car draft, Collinshaw and Bartel. I mean, they're doing every single thing they can to be fast. Problem is, the guy up front, Bob Weber, he's fast alone.
The number 34 car there, and taking a look at John Salisbury running in 4th position. We saw him back in 5th until Canfield exited the race. So now Salisbury is running a very lonesome 4th spot. He's 25 seconds behind the leaders and 5 seconds ahead of 5th place Don Barrett.
And you can bet when this airs that John Sr., who we talked about at the beginning of the show, who had open heart surgery, he'll be watching this with some big interest here.
Well, Dad, your son's doing just fine out there right now. He's short of a podium spot, but if anything happens to these 3 men, he'll be right there to collect the hardware.
I hate to say it, but what Bartel needs to do he's so good up in the keyhole. He needs to drive up in the keyhole and give Mr. Weber a little bit of help, loosen him up, so he can't get that big run down the straightaway. It's the only shot he's got.
Well, getting up there and bumping the guy in front of you is the next best thing to be in there, but he lost a little drive there.
He did. He might be under jeopardy of being passed, too, because he did have a big slide the exit of one there. No, it did cost him time, though. He's not as close this time.
Sure did. So he's got to hustle through the chicane to get to the keyhole to have any kind of an opportunity to put the move on him that you mentioned. Meanwhile, Collishaw with a nice tight inside line. Are you going to see the fender of the number? Yeah, he's giving it by. He's waving him by. Ron Bartel is saying, Dan Collishaw, if you can get it done, you go to the front.
Well, that was smart because Bartel got wide of the apex up there. He knew he was out of position on the racetrack and that he was not going to get the run he needed. So he's letting this pass happen. So it doesn't slow the two of them up. Now they'll work together from the other side now.
Collishaw is going to move into second place, courtesy of his friend Ron Bartel.
That's a nice gesture there. Go on by me. I messed up. Go ahead. Now we'll see if Collinshaw's got anything tonight.
Yeah, well, this will be very interesting indeed because Weber had Bartel covered. Let's see if he's got Dan Collishaw covered. And remember, out of the three of them, it's only Collishaw that has not won a national championship. He's going for his first, and that would make 7 in the field.
And look at Collishaw open the lead up over Bartel already.
So we could have some real dramatic developments here shortly. Stay with us at Mid-Ohio. Ron Bartel in third position here now at the Valvoline Runoffs, and his opportunity to take a third consecutive title he may have just given up his opportunity by allowing Dan Collishaw to go by to see if he can run down Bob Weber, the leader.
And I wonder if he's got some car trouble too, because he let that pass happen so easily, and he surely can't run the pace anymore that Collishaw and Weber are running right now.
Well, Bartel's definitely dropping back. It took him a while to come into the picture there. And Collishaw is all over Weber in the same spot. Now let's see if Collishaw, without Bartel in front of him, can close the gap. And here comes Raymond Yergler, who is up behind the 39 of Mark Pellman for 7th and 8th.
Yeah, those guys having a good race of it too. Back on the front straightaway now. Yergler looking, but he doesn't have enough speed yet to do anything.
So Pellman's going to hold on to the number 7 position as they go into turn number 1. Pellman in the blue car, and Raymond Yergler, we mentioned 87 on the side of his car, is the year he won the national championship at the Runoffs.
Real nice line through turn 1. Yergler that time just really nailed that corner.
Pellman holding him off, but there Yergler comes up alongside almost as they go into the keyhole, and here could be his best opportunity. If he's got anything or a good draft pass move, he could take the spot.
Well, you can diamond that turn, and that's exactly what Yergler did. He drove it in real deep, and then instead of trying to cut down on the middle of the corner, he let it drift out wide, then cut it back, and sometimes you can get a good run down off that corner. Didn't work that time.
But it looks like Pellman's got the same deal going on, as he's got a little bit faster car down the straightaway than the man who's trying to pass him.
Yes, he does. About 10 car lengths worth, I'd say.
So Mark Pellman in the number 39 blue bug-eyed Sprite holds on to the 7th position ahead of Raymond Yergler. They come through the madness, the S's, the real busy part of this racetrack, and Yergler pulls right up to him here through the tight stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at the front tires of Yergler's car when he turns in. The car's got a lot of understeer. It's tight. You can see the angle of the front tire will be a little bit more excessive than what the corner would normally need, which means that the front's pushing pretty good.
Up through the short chute. Heading towards the carousel. Up to the leaders now, and Dan Collishaw is pulled right up behind Bob Weber, but Weber seems to be equal at the task of holding off this 81 car as well.
We'll see, because right now Weber did not have the better run through the keyhole. Actually, Collishaw had a really good run there. 35's got power, but this is as close as it's ever been. It's close enough to think about going to the inside. Let's see what happens.
Well, we're setting up a great fight here in the final 4 laps of this H Production National Championship. Bob Weber has led virtually from the beginning. He took the lead just a lap or 2 into the race, and since then it has been all Bob Weber, as both Ron Bartel and Dan Collishaw now have been unsuccessful in trying to get by him.
And Bartel's nowhere in the picture anymore. Whatever problem he has, he's a third-place car at best, but Collishaw is right there. I mean, he's close enough to make some serious threat now.
78 miles an hour on the last lap, and he's the fastest car on the track. He's about 3/10 quicker than Weber.
on transponder timing around here, but Weber's got what Collishaw wants, and that's the real estate.
Yeah, he's got the horsepower too, unfortunately.
Bob Weber leads here in H production as Dan Collishaw is trying to set up a desperate move here in the last couple of laps for a national championship, and he's definitely filling up the mirror of the leader now as they go after it in the final 4 laps here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Well, that battle for the lead is inside 3 laps to go now, and it's still Bob Weber. Traffic is looming itself in front of them here at the Valvoline Runoffs, and so the final couple of laps could be very interesting indeed. We'll see who's got the needle to thread through traffic.
That traffic can make a big difference in these cars. Like I said at the beginning of the show, these are momentum cars, and if you break the momentum, they don't have the power to get it right back again. So this could be a chess game when it gets up to this lap traffic.
Bob Weber in the yellow number 35, the national champion ship in 1994. Dan Collishaw has yet to win a title. He's been runner-up here a couple of times. As they come past the lap car, and the 3rd place car of Ron Bartel still hanging on, but clearly his opportunity to challenge for a victory is over.
And the lap car did a good job once again of moving offline and letting the 2 guys race it out with a couple laps to go here almost. He saw him coming and moved out of the way. That's a nice thing to see.
Weber opening up another comfortable gap, but Collishaw closes quickly as they start to get into the twisty part of the racetrack.
Well, I'll tell you what, the cars are different speeds on different ends of the racetrack, but Weber's got the speed where you need it. Down that big long straightaway.
And on the short one to the finish line too. If he's in front coming off turn 15, you can bet that Collishaw won't have anything for him. But there's a long way to go until we get to that point. We're on lap number 18 right now, and the next time they cross the stripe, it'll be 2 to go.
Collishaw's got to find a way to make Weber break the momentum. I mean, either it's going to have to get up to behind him and help him along a little bit with the momentum problem, or this is a battle for 5th and a very good one there. You see VW Sirocco, the 23 car.
Don Barrick behind the wheel, and the 34 right behind him of John Salisbury. Salisbury's trying to take the spot. They go side by side.
Won't work here. Somebody's going to have to give up right up here.
It's going to work there, though, as Salisbury had the position for the right-hander and made the pass work. So John Salisbury takes over number 5 from Don Barrick's VW Scirocco.
Look at that Volkswagen. Of course, it looks so much bigger than these little bitty midgets. It looks like a big tank out there.
But the rules in H production put them both in the same class. Salisbury, a nice clean drive.
Here we go.
And another VW in the bomb sights here of our leaders. The 46 car, the only other Scirocco, that's Johannes Kraus. He moves over and lets leader Bob Weber go by, and Collishaw is stuck right to his bumper now.
He needs to get down on the inside there. I mean, that would have been a perfect place to break the momentum. Get in there, even if you risk going in deep, you know, and locking up a tire or something like that. That was as close as you're going to get.
Bob Weber driving on rails while Collishaw sliding all over the place and successful in closing ground. He's definitely squaring off more corners than Weber is.
Yeah, that car's quicker through the corners. There's no question. 35's got the straightaway speed, so you're going to have to do something to break that.
The classic battle between a car good in the corners and one good down the straightaways. We're on one of the short straightaways right there. Bob Weber stays in front.
Collishaw, I think, was faster than Bartel in the straight line because he doesn't give up as much as Bartel was. But right in here, I mean, this
a little mistake.
Good save, good save.
Yeah, nice save by Collishaw coming up on the final lap. Out of turn number 15, it'll be 1 lap to go across the start-finish line. The crews are looking on, and this one is not over by any means. And you saw the crew chief mouth 1 lap to go to Bob Weber.
And the whole key's got up here in the keyhole. If Collishaw can get up inside there, just give it a nudge. I mean, just got to get his door in there somehow. And he's close enough to do it. Here it goes. He's looking.
He's looking. He's hunting, trying to find an opportunity as they go through the chicane leading to the keyhole. But Bob Weber is driving a flawless race so far. Here comes Collishaw. Will he get close enough to make a move?
It's a good run out there, but here's the story right here. Watch the 35. Well, Collinshaw's got more, like I said, he's got more motor than what Bartel did. He's losing a little bit right here on top end. That 35 really got some legs.
Dan Collishaw is watching Bob Weber open up another couple of car lengths as they go down into turn number 6. He's going to have to stand on the brakes late with both feet to outbrake Weber into this turn, and that's not going to happen either.
No, he wasn't close enough to make that happen. Of course, this is, where Collinshaw is very fast. He'll be closed up on the time of turn 7 down here. Here it comes.
Oh, it's going to be close at the finish. You know that, as Weber just trying to drive error-free, as he has all race long right now. So he's just trying to keep it together while Collinshaw is the man trying to take the spot.
And only 2 more places on this lap where you could possibly get by or get alongside. One of them coming up, maybe the braking zone for the carousel. Both of them loose right there. Giving it their all, no question about it.
Under the bridge and heading towards the carousel now through turns 11 and 12.
There, right there. He's got momentum if he can just drive.
Oh! Comes up to the corner. No contact. And very gentlemanly racing going on as they come through the carousel. Bob Weber and Dan Collinshaw for the checkered flag in the national championship. It's going to be championship number 2 for Weber. And bridesmaid again for Dan Collinshaw. His crew celebrates Bob Weber's 2nd national championship. And he's done it here at Mid-Ohio in fine and gentlemanly style.
Well, that was a good run right there. I mean, there was just not much you can do when you got a car that's that strong in the straightaway. I mean, it just tells the tale.
All the work in the garage is paid off with a fine drive by Bob Weber in the number 35 Sprite to take the national championship here at Mid-Ohio in H production. So now he'll get a chance to wave to the fans and return back to his crew as the battle for 4th position still continues here. John Salisbury and Phil Childs. Childs in the 86 going for that Triple Crown. That's not going to happen, but he crosses the finish line in 4th position ahead of Salisbury.
Mr. Weber's got to take that motor out and put it away until next year. Bring it back.
That one certainly worked well indeed. Let's go down to Chris Neville.
Here with Weber's crew chief, John Trenery. John, you guys have been together a long time. It's been 8 years since the last championship. He's going to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it feels real good. Weber and I have been doing this for about 22 years now. Last championship was back in '94. We've been here many times on the pole, and always something seems to happen. This year, everything came together for us. Man, I can't stand it. We led the whole race. Excellent. Most excellent.
Back up to the booth.
All right. Pretty hard to top that for happiness. And you know what? He's like a kid down there celebrating, wasn't he?
No better feeling right there.
Celebrating Bob Weber's championship 8 years apart. When we come back, we'll talk to the driver. No doubt he's pretty happy, too. Speed Channel's coverage of the SCCA Valvoline runoffs is brought to you by Valvoline. You can always tell the guys who use Valvoline. Well, H production is over for 2002. Here are the top 10 unofficial results. Bob Weber, Dan Collinshaw, Ron Bartel able to hang on. Phil Childs coming up short of the Triple Crown, and John Salisbury rounding out the top 5 for Dad. So let's go downstairs now to Guy Hobbs.
Bob Weber's pulled into the victory lane. Bob, first of all, congratulations. 8 years since your last national championship. It's got to feel real good.
Oh, it feels great. We've been back a couple other times, but finally did one together.
Now, at the beginning of the race, you had Bartel all over the back of you, and you held him off quite well, and then later on it was Collinshaw, but you managed to keep him off.
Yeah, I just tried to focus on the road and not in the mirrors, and that's what it takes to go fast. You just can't let those guys behind you, but my mirrors were full of him. I tell you couldn't miss him in the turns.
It seemed like you had a little bit more horsepower than him down the straight there.
Yeah, I think I did. It was either the way I came out of the button hook or just pure horsepower. I hadn't had it all week, but during the day I could pull a couple car lengths on both of them. So I think that was it.
All right, well, we'll find out what he thinks because he's down there with Chris.
Yeah, I'm down here with 3rd time in a row, Dan Collinshaw. Dan, you've got to be happy. It was a great race, but you've also got to be a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, you know, I think I had actually had the best car, but just didn't get it done. And 3rd time in a row, I guess that 2nd place spot in the podium's got my name written on it. So the car was great. I mean, the tires hung in there. The Goodyear tires hung in there all race, and I think we had the best car at the end. I just ran out of time.
Well, it sure seemed like you were good in the corners, but it seemed like Weber was a little bit quicker on the straightaways.
Yeah, he was a little bit faster down the straight, especially when he was alone. So once, I guess, Ron had some trouble and I got past Ron, I had lost his draft, so it took me a couple laps to catch up to him. Once I got to him, I could sort of stay in his draft, but I just couldn't get by him.
Well, Dan Collinshaw's a little bit frustrated, but looking forward to next year. Back upstairs.
Well, I think we're looking forward to next year already, too. If they keep giving us great races like that, it was pretty fun watching those little cars go after it, wasn't it?
Boy, they put on a good show for everybody, that's for sure. And you don't get much better racing. It was clean. Drivers were all nice to each other. It was pretty unusual.
Take a look again at the top 10. And with A.L. Drum rounding out this group here, Mark Pellman, we saw a lot of him. Ray Yergler, a former champion, finishing in 7th position. And the rest of the finishers all the way back. A couple of those Volkswagen Scirocco's. Johannes Kraus there, of course. And let's go downstairs one more time.
And we're down here with Ron Bartel, comes in 3rd. Had a great run in 2nd there going for a while, but then you waved Collishaw by. You figured you couldn't get by Weber?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know whether it was obvious that I waved him by, but he kept trying to go to the outside, and I wanted him to go to the inside, and if he went there, I'd let him have the turn. But, you know, we're kind of teammates, and I felt like I was holding him back. I got a little bit behind in talent there, and I didn't want to get in his way. And I figured he could give Weber a better shot than I could, so I let him go.
All right, well, congratulations on a 3rd place finish. Unfortunately, you didn't get that hat trick.
Yeah. 3 in a row's pretty tough.
Bob Weber taking his crew around the racetrack on that ceremonial victory lap of honor. Boy, this one started out with a whole bunch of bang and ended up with Bob Weber in another national championship. Certainly like to thank all of you for joining us and hope you enjoyed H Production Racing as much as we did here at the Valvoline Runoffs at Mid-Ohio. For Dorsey Schrader and for Chris Neville and